we'll call this meeting to order. Let's establish a quorum. Katie, if you would, please, call the roll.
Counselor Ford.
Present.
Mythaler. Roden.
Here.
Evans. Here. Thomas.
Here.
Lacy. Here. And Oath is absent. We have a quorum here.
All right. Our invocation tonight will be given by Counselor Thomas and the pledge of allegiance by Counselor Ford. If everybody would, please stand.
Father, once again, we're thankful for the opportunity you've given us to come here to these chambers to discuss our city business, Lord. And we pray, Lord, throughout any decisions that need to be made now, just be guided by your wisdom. We pray especially for safety of travel as we head home this evening. And we pray for all these things through Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we'll move on to the approval of the agenda tonight. I do have one thing that I'd like to add in under new business.
Make a motion that we add the, to the agenda, War Eagle One, the building.
Okay. Yeah, all right, got a motion?
Second.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right, thank you all for that. All right, introduction of special guests, we have none. We do have somebody special in our midst. This is our new editor, Mr. Mark Humphrey with the Madison County Record. Welcome, Mark, to your first city council meeting, and look forward to many, many more with you. So, special order of business, there is none. Approval of the minutes meeting August 12th, 2024.
Make a motion to accept those as disseminated.
Second. Motion got a second by Ms. Evans. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Ayes have it. All right, public comments. We have any public comments tonight? Rhonda, do you have anything? Okay. All right.
It would.
City department reports, we'll go ahead and get right into those. I've asked Captain to fill in since Chief Thomas is on vacation. He's happily accepted that role. And so what do you got for us, Captain?
So Chief wanted me to just bring this up to everybody, just so you guys aren't kind of blindsided by it whenever he does come and ask. And I'm not really sure that you guys are going to deal with this more than the budget committee will. But so we're looking at trying to take next year's vehicle budget and spend it this year due to a lot of problems with our Ford Explorers that we're having, and just the cost on those Ford Explorers. Just to throw it out there, a water pump cost us almost $4,000 to get fixed, and it was more of the not the parts, but the pulling it out and putting a new one in. So these Fords are they're nickel and diming us to death and they're in the shop constantly. So what we're looking at, normally we get the Durangos also when the Durangos are available, and the Durangos are jumping for anywhere from $2,000 to $3,000 next year, according to our state bid guy that does our state bids for our vehicles. And we paid right around $49,000 for it this year for the Durango, so it's going to go up $2,000 or $3,000 next year. So what we're looking at is trying to possibly get that budget for this year and buy the Tahoe, the 2024 Tahoe, and get it now, because last year we tried to get the Tahoes and Fayetteville switched, Rogers switched, and State Police switched all to Tahoes, and we were just left out. And we had to get a Ford or a Durango. So
Captain, there's two in Salem Springs, correct, right now?
Yes,
That are modified for police.
Right, they're police
interceptors, right?
packages,
Yeah,
yes,
police
sir.
packages.
Yeah.
And there's two there now, and can you tell me the price of those?
So they're showing us the state bid price is 56.
56.
Yes, and we just paid 49 for a Durango, which is, they said that the state bid gentleman that talked to us, he said that they're seeing just a rapid 2,000 to 3,000 every year on the vehicles going up from the Durangos to the Tahoes.
Okay.
So
Well, we paid, I think it was 41 for the Durango this year, because your year-to-date vehicle is 41. 962, and 42 is what we budgeted.
Well, and I would suggest that because last year, Jason's here, so we'll have him kind of talk to that too. But last year, we had a hard time, and just so you know, Todd and I have only visited about this very briefly. But if we've got two available now and they're over in Siloam Springs, obviously, after visiting with Katie this afternoon and this discussion, it is something that council has the ability to do, to amend the budget for this year. And obviously, you'd decrease it by whatever we gave for that vehicle this year. For next year's budget, you just decrease 2025, fiscal 2025's budget. So it's easy enough to do, I think.
What's the unobligated funds?
Oh, I don't have that in front of me. Bank account's a little lower than normal right now because we've made payments on the parkland. I think it's at 1.7 right now. I don't know what we're at on the other, I apologize. I don't have that full budget in front of me that showed the other. I know we'll have.
I signed off on the statements today.
I mean, I know what's about in the account is about 1.7 million, but we still have the rest of this year's budget to go, and I don't know what we had.
And I know for us, it's the back end of this deal. We're paying more in maintenance for the Explorers than, yes, we'll pay a little more upfront with the Tahoe, but we're gonna pay more on the back end with those Ford Explorers if we just continue to go to them.
Yeah. Jay, what do you, give us a recommendation to council?
I would definitely go with the Tahoes, even though they're a little more, like you said, you're gonna save money on them. The Ford Explorers and the Durangos. And not saying the Tahoes won't have a problem, but, I mean, my neck of the woods.
What do you, as far as the maintenance go, is it cheaper to maintain, I mean, comparatively speaking, as far as,
As far as just regular maintenance, not necessarily any cheaper, but it's the problems like when you have a water pump, that's the first thing that goes in the engine. You have to disassemble that whole engine. It's like an 18-hour job to put a water pump on it.
Right.
Whereas a Tahoe, it's a half an hour to do a Tahoe. Yeah.
Yeah, and I know this isn't just us as far as like, you know, thinking that maybe it's just the Ford Explorers that we got, because I follow police pages obviously on Facebook, and everybody talking about their units and things like that, and that seems to be a running problem with everybody's departments is those Ford Explorers, and everybody's just going away from them now. They're just not what they used to be.
So what would be the bottom line price that we would have to amend?
Well, this would be just expensing the entire amount, the 56,000.
56.
It would be an expense for this year, and then when budget time comes, we just wouldn't put that in. That vehicle line would not be in next year's.
So it's after one?
Just one. Yeah, I mean, eventually, obviously, we want to get rid of, we have 3 altogether, eventually, because all 3 of them at one point has been in the shop in the last 2 weeks. So well, eventually we would phase all of those Ford Explorers out and just do away with them.
What's the difference between a regular Tahoe and a so-called
A police package, a lot of times it's the suspensions, the bigger brakes, calipers, things like that. They just beef it up a little bit more because they know that you're gonna be using it to either, you know, run in hot calls and things like that, so.
They'll have a bigger electrical system on them.
They'd have to run the computer.
Run the computer. As of this one, no, but if that could be a possibility for the next 2, definitely.
This one is just basically, we need.
This one, yes, will replace, not necessarily replace one, I guess, but get us another one on the road and get rid of our older vehicle that we have. For now, obviously, we're gonna phase them all out of approval.
I'd make a motion, you just go ahead and approve and amend the budget so that they can purchase it now, as long as the money's available. I think it's available.
The biggest thing for me is, and just to kind of, and I agree with you, because I think last year, and I think Chief had mentioned this as well, They are so hard to get, they're very elusive.
And they're here.
There's two of them in Siloam Springs, means we don't have to have them shipped, and we're not having to pay some extra freight or anything of that nature.
Pick them up.
The other thing is dealing with what we've dealt with in the past, no offense, Chief Shin, with the KME truck. It's there, it's tangible, we can actually go look at it and actually drive it home. So, it's not your fault.
I'd like to amend the budget for some mental health.
So we have a motion.
I second.
All right, got a second by Steve. All those in favor say aye.
I feel better, it needs to be a roll call if it says it's.
Okay, yeah, all right. Roll call, Katie.
Okay. Counselor Lacey. Counselor Thomas.
Yes.
Evans. Roden.
Yes.
Mythaler.
Yes.
Ford.
Yes.
Is that 6-0?
Merry
7,
Christmas.
6.
Thank you.
Jay, you may not get to see as much traffic in and out.
Yeah, I mean, I'm shooting myself in the foot.
And I appreciate it.
Yeah, no
My
problem.
family was taken care of.
Yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
the other three will be there to see you.
Yeah, and I'll just assume you make it out there if I call 911.
Absolutely, yeah. All right, you got anything else, Captain?
Just one other thing, that I wanted to bring up too. Officer Travis Bilberry, I don't know if you guys met him or got to meet him at all. He decided to go a different route, after about a year of being with us in law enforcement. And, so we wound up hiring for his position, a hometown boy. You guys probably know him, Colby Faulkner. So he did work for the sheriff's office for about 2 years, and prior to that, he worked for the school. So he did maintenance, things like that for the school, and he found his niche was SRO. He wants to be a security officer so bad. I know that he had an opportunity with the sheriff's office, and then things went different. We got the SRO, and he wanted to hang out and stay with the sheriff's office, and then he started talking about going somewhere else, going to Fayetteville, going to Springdale, because that's what he wants to do. He wants to be an SRO. And so when Travis left, we opened up that patrol position, and he realized that we have the SRO. He wants to be here where his kids are, and so he put in for the patrol spot, hoping to be able to get his foot in the door with the SRO spot if it comes available. So we hired him. He starts tomorrow actually. So I don't know if you guys know much about him and his family, but he's at every basketball game, every football game. He knows anything and everything you can think of about the Razorbacks. So and he
absolutely,
loves
yeah.
kids. So
Loves
you know,
kids.
he should be good if he gets the opportunity.
Okay, appreciate that, Captain. Anything else?
That's it.
All right. Obviously, Scott's out this afternoon. Did we include anything in there? Okay. And you all were supplied with a report from the street department. I will say that we got our project done at 416. These guys, Daniel Bennett and Brian Robinson, that work over there at our street department. These two, we have absolutely hit home runs in hiring these two guys. You know, Scott was out there for a little while, and these guys took the ball and ran with it. We just gave them gave both of them raises not very long ago, and gave them new titles. They have taken to that like a duck to water. We've got our project done that we needed to get done for the flooding issue up on in front of the Catholic Church on Crossbow. Got it completed. They done it for a lot less than what we figured that we were going to have in it. I'm just really impressed with these guys. So job well done to them. If you get a chance, say something to them. They would appreciate it. Got all that done. Got all the brush trimmed, I think, finally. We're helping with the for the street department, probably what wasn't in your report. We're going to help with a little bit of the yard work up at around the airport. It's not as though we don't already do that somewhat, but we're helping because there's going to be a budgetary thing that we got to look at in this upcoming wage and salary or budget time committee meeting that we'll have to look at. I figure our rates are going to go up as far as the yard mowing goes.
The big thing they did is speed bumps on Phillips.
Yeah, speed bumps on Phillips after the school started back. We went over there and looked at it with the school district, and actually Chuck, our SRO, our sergeant over the SRO program, had called me down, I think, about the second or third day of school. We went over there and looked at it. We decided that for the safety and welfare of the pre-K building especially, There's not really good parking over there. We've been petitioning the school to give us some land there, maybe on the corner and in the front, not give us land, but maybe utilize that land for some gravelled area parking. Told them that they'd have to get with the planning commission on exactly how we're gonna have to do that. But, we're looking at a lot of different things, in regards to that, but we did put the speed bumps there on Phillips, right? Yeah. So that was good. All right, water department.
Just have a couple things to add to my report. The first is we will finally be closing the tank project this month. The last few items.
Fantastic.
Automation, and then the pump that had to be replaced that was delivered broken. They're all scheduled for the next 2 weeks to be completed. And USDA has already given us permission to move forward with the closing once that's done. And then the other item is, we had lost Sean Ellis a few months ago on our commission. Last month, the commission selected Preston Scott as the replacement. If council would like to confirm, we'd love to have him join us at our next month's meeting.
Let's go ahead and entertain a motion on that.
Make the motion.
I'll second it.
Got a motion, got a second. Did you get those, Katie? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Ayes have it. Just, if you'll schedule a time, we'll get him, I think Katie and I can swear him in down here individually, can't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he can come down and we can do that. Is that all you got?
Yeah.
All right, Chief Sheehan, what you got for us at the fire department?
Well, the KME would
It's
have
here.
been delivered this week. I was hoping to have it here for you, and then I think I shared with you last time that John's Mid-America is no longer associated. KME has dropped them. What turned out, KME did not know, forgot, whatever, that there were certain things that John's was supposed to be doing, including putting our graphics on, which is not a significant thing, but they forgot. So we said, okay, well, what about the graphics? What about the, so they're working on that, and we're hoping that we will have that this coming week. It surely couldn't take that long to do graphics. That's my statement. It's now gonna be recorded for eternity. So if it's not here in a week, I don't know. But, we're still working on what to do with engine two. Once that arrives, whether to keep it, whether to, work with some of our automatic aid departments, cause it's still a good rig. We just need to decide what we're gonna do, what's best for us overall. Right now, we do not have enough bodies to staff it, to staff that many engines, but we're still working on some of those things. The biggie, and again, I've been in contact with a variety of people, is what I've got in the report there with the new OSHA standards, proposed standards. The situation comes, the OSHA, the safety standards have not been updated since 1980. And so OSHA, in an effort to reduce firefighter deaths and injuries, and other emergency personnel, have been working on this proposal. It has now gone through the final process of all the input and things, and now fire chiefs all over the place are saying, hey, wait a minute, this is an issue for, especially for rural volunteer fire departments. The International Association of Firefighters, the International Association of Fire Chiefs, the American Society of Safety Professionals are all on board. They want the new standards because of the reduction, they believe the reduction in injuries and deaths to firefighters. Well, part of the Fire Chief Association is VICOS, which is Volunteer and Career Officer Departments. And they're made mainly of volunteer departments like ourselves around the country. I've talked to different ones there. We are pushing forward, discussing and talking to our elected officials and everybody else about, okay, obviously we cannot rail against ideas that are going to save people from being killed and injured. That's a given. But for example, if it is, part of the rule says that every firefighter will have to submit to a physical, and then every 2 years will have to resubmit to that physical, which, when you look at the number of deaths of firefighters that occur from cardiac arrest, that's an obvious one. That's one that should be done, except for one of the things that happens in rural departments, primarily the other 12 departments in our county, is a lot of times you will have somebody who is not necessarily physically fit to be an interior firefighter, but they can drive a rig and they can pump that rig and they can do some cold zone activities that are very helpful. The training requirements, our firefighters already train more than anybody else in the county, but when it comes to meeting the new standards, which are being bumped up to what career fighters go through, the numbers are closer to those. It becomes a continued problem for us. Now, one of the things that we've been working on, and we've talked with Chief Thomas, and I think we've talked to y'all about some, we're trying to redo our training center out here at Station 2, bring in those shipping containers and redo it to meet NFPA standards. Once we get the standard, we have a 2-story structure out there that meets NFPA guidelines. We can in-house train our people to Firefighter 1, Firefighter 2 standards, which the big impediment, of course, is we can't send people. If you are a volunteer, you're not going to be able to take off 8-9 weeks to go to the fire academy to go get your certification that way. So that would help us. But the other requirements, the problems for our automatic and mutual aid departments, they have to have new PPE. You know, we're the only department that has a standing rule that once they're out of compliance, we take them out of service, and we tend to share with other departments who have nothing, but that would no longer be allowed. The rigs, there is some discussion about whether or not fire apparatus would have to be retired after 15 years of service. Would have to go into a reserve status. Well, there's no, when our KME arrives, it would be the only rig in the county that meets that standard that would be in there. And so that becomes another issue they're dealing with. The administrative requirements, the amount of record keeping that we have to maintain, things we have to keep track of, continues to go up. And this would take, for new stuff, it would take 93 hours a year to do, 45 hours a year for just the maintenance of the new regulations, not including the other stuff. So there are a variety of issues with this new proposal that right now, I can't give you a good answer whether this will or won't be pushed through. A lot of the urban world tends to have more influence than the rural world. I talked to Brian King and was asking Brian about these kind of situations, and one of the things he had said is that with the shift even in the state of Arkansas, with the number of people that are moving to cities, that the rural areas have actually lost representation in the state legislature, and says that really that they're not working together to really kind of work together to solve some of the problems that we're facing in the rural areas. So I'm not seeing a good path yet that's going to deviate us from some of this and allow us to have, again, nothing that's going to put people at risk, but there are some common sense things that we could do to continue to benefit volunteers. Because maintaining the numbers, as I've told you before, the other 12 departments in the county are struggling just to keep their doors open, which affects us when that square is on fire, when those apartments are on fire, any significant issue, we just don't have the same personnel coming to our aid that we used to have. And so those are the dark clouds we're dealing with right now, and I don't have a good answer for you until the elected officials can tell us more where we are.
This is federal.
It's federal.
Does the state have a plan to support any of these changes yet?
Not as of yet.
Would
No.
this shut the doors of volunteer departments?
The volunteer departments, if they cannot meet this, then that becomes the next thing. What's OSHA standard? And I was in a webinar, whatever day you called me the other day, Mayor, talking some of those, and what they're saying is that they're typically not gonna come out and just do a brush, go through and check who is and who is not compliant. But if somebody gets injured, somebody gets killed, and they are not following OSHA guidelines, NFPA guidelines, then they will suffer the consequences of the law, which is fines and imprisonment. So that becomes a significant deterrent to people wanting to be in those positions, because fire chiefs and training officers are the first two that go to jail. I'm old, I'm not up for that yet, so.
Well, at some point in time, they're gonna have to take a common sense approach to this, because I get the urban development, the more urban sprawl areas, you know, they have that infinite amount of tax base that they can support these fire departments. Here in rural Arkansas, which is 97% of Arkansas, really, we don't have that ability. So it's gonna have to be a game of check and balance for us in the rural areas here, so.
The state and federal government at some point are gonna find, and county for that matter, finally are gonna have to start directing some more money, some more financial resources to these departments. Again, they're surviving on $35,000 a year. A air pack, we talked about before, is over $10,000.
Yep.
Set of turnouts, $4,500. But the money itself is only part of the problem. It continues to be, again, the physicality and getting people who are willing to do what's needed. So again, we're still facing that. I'm the broken record, but the lack of volunteers in the county, volunteers willing to do interior firefighting, is a significant problem for us. Our rural departments do a great job as first responders. Brush fires, grass fires, they're able to get out and do those. But number one, the lack of resources that they have, and just the number of people that are willing to do this anymore. That's a problem.
Sarah, could you do a kind of a little summary proposal recommending or we could all take
Yes, ma'am.
mail it to the best person?
Yes, ma'am.
Seems like if we could get
All our local
Right.
senators and
some
representatives.
verbiage that would indicate what the impact would potentially be if it were. We could all change it up a little bit.
Fires in rural Arkansas.
I think there is, with the National Volunteer Fire Council, they have got some great resources, and I will redirect those to Katie, and then she can get it to y'all to use for that, because they've got summary page, and then they've got the more extended summary page, and then they've got the full report. that you
And
want to go through.
in the summary, though, I think it would be helpful, especially during budget time too, to see, hey, this is something that's on the horizon that we need to kind of prepare for 3 years down the road, 2 years down the road, when we decide to implement it. So I'm very hopeful we have representation, obviously. 2025 in Little Rock from a local guy here, James Eaton is going to be our representative, so I think that it'll be dynamic in the fact that we can call on him about any time, and he's going to well represent Madison County. So hopefully, and I think Brian King does a great job representing us as well. I really do. So I think both those will be assets and in our corner, absolutely.
I think Senator Bozeman last week in the news went to a rural fire department and they discussed this. And stuff like
Yeah.
you presented.
It is, and the issues with the fire departments right now, there's two mindsets going on. One, this is what we've always done. We can't afford to make these changes, and that's been kind of part of the rural thing. The other part of it is that it is about the safety and health and safety of the fire personnel. And so there are aspects, the blanket saying we don't need this is one thing I don't want us to get tied up in, because there are things we do need. Personnel should be wearing the right protective equipment. They should have the
Oh,
air packs. They
absolutely.
should do the things necessary. But they need to have more voice from the volunteer departments about, okay, what are some steps we can take? How can we make this work where we don't just shut the doors? Because the other thing is, and that's one thing we brought up before, is that if our rural departments start shutting their doors, those people, all of a sudden their ISO ratings go to a class 10, which means technically they shouldn't be able to get homeowners insurance. And that's a big issue, so. Anyway, Mayor, that's the cheeriness I have to share.
It would be.
It is.
Yeah. Any other questions of Chief Shin? All right, hearing none, we'll go on to Finance Director Katie.
I just want to confirm that everyone received their audit report from legislative audit.
Yeah.
And are we planning
Another letter.
another letter?
Yes.
For
I
the-
received a big packet in the letter.
Oh, what was the additional letter?
Telling us they're gonna start the
Oh,
audit.
yes.
Yeah. Oh, it's-
That
matter
was
of
my
fact,
next
she's-
point, is that
she's
she
al-
started
she's already
next
been up
week,
here,
or
actually.
last week, yeah.
Yeah, she started last
So-
week.
This one ends and starts all over.
Yes.
I think I've heard from that one. This kiddo down at Fort Smith lately.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, that's true.
that's all I have, really.
Okay. All right, my report. Counselor Rodden had asked me to update you all on, he's been asked a couple questions about the solar project. So I went back through my correspondence here via email on the solar project. Back on August the 7th, received an email from Luke, hang on just a second, that's not correct, hang on. Get to the right one. From John Coleman. The gentleman that come over here and got us on this project as far as the solar array for metering for the city. Go back to August the 7th on this, and he says that the array has been completed since the spring, so they're done with their part of it. The array has been completed since the spring. We're waiting on Carroll Electric to install a piece of equipment on their side of the meter, so we can energize the array. It may be helpful if you ping Joy Magnini to make sure that he is aware. He's the gentleman that works at Carroll Electric. So we'd sent out an email after you and I had this conversation, sent it to Joey, and he sends me a message back and says, Mayor Dotson, the ETA for materials needed, and this is from Carroll Electric, the ETA for materials needed to complete the make-ready work for the city's net metering facility is November 2024. November of 2024. Once the materials arrive, we will schedule construction with the contractor. Construction lead times will vary throughout the year. On average, though, one could conclude that you would be up and going with interconnect in Q1 of 2025. So I know that's a little bit vague, but that's what we need to update the community and everybody else on this. Yes, Sean?
Do you know if the water department is still a part of that project?
As far as I know, yes. Yeah. I think, Katie, did we not specify that whenever we went back through we were at a standstill for a while with the state saying, we don't know if we're going to allow you to go 2 for 1. It was basically going to be 1 for 1 metering is what it was going to be, which would make it nonsensical for us to do it at that point in time, obviously. Maybe. But anyway, I think that in the contract, you all were in that. And I'm pretty sure that Jessica looked at that. I can find out for you tomorrow, though, Sean. Okay. All right. Any questions of that? Okay. Update on Ward 4, Position 1. We've had 3 applicants or persons interested in that position. We closed that last week or maybe the week before. We're going to start this week. We got through the holiday there, the 3-day weekend that we had. We will start to make time this week to set up interviews, and so we'll bring 1, 2, or 3 names before you, and we'll all decide that together. Next month on into the first part of November, we'll be looking at liquidating the industrial parkland. That was our goal that we had set. So I'm going to have Katie and some maybe Brandy help us push that out to the public again. We'll ask that the Madison County Record that we do this one last push for bids on that industrial parkland. So we're hoping to get that off of our. We're hoping to get that done in 24 at some point in time. I don't care if it's November, December, but we just want to try to get it done and over with by then. So we'll be soliciting bids. So Brandy be thinking about that. I intended a roundtable discussion in Springdale of area mayors or Northwest Arkansas mayors with 6 to 9 representatives and senators. One of the big things that they're talking about in 2025, this upcoming year, and this would be very beneficial on our part with the growth that we've sustained over the past couple of years. One of the things that they're looking at is a constitutional amendment that would allow cities to participate in funding or help with funding to lure or draw in more retail outlets. Right now, the Constitution reads that that can't be a part of it. Retail entities cannot, but you can help with other things, but you can't help with retail entities. And so this would be a huge game changer for us. The consensus is Arkansas Municipal League, who held the event, the roundtable discussion, they are absolutely on board for that, for especially some smaller cities like ourselves. And the surprising thing is all the larger mayors, the larger players in the area Mayor of Rogers, Mr. Hines, Mayor of Springdale, Mr. Sprouse, and Lionel Jordan was represented with Fayetteville, and they all agreed that it would be a great tool. Now, they even say that they probably wouldn't cash in on that advantage because they have, like I say, an infinite number of, as far as tax base goes. But for someone like us, smaller communities with a shoestring budget, it is beneficial, and hopefully they can make those adjustments. And to be quite honest with you, the senators and representatives that were there, they seemed pretty receptive to the idea. So I spoke a little bit about how much it would help us, and they agreed. We had a private sidebar conversation after the meeting with a senator and a representative, and they said, absolutely, we understand now how it would benefit you. And so anyway, that was a good meeting to have. We finally got our Verkada system up and going, our new camera system and our security system. If you'll notice, whenever you come through these doors now, there's a little key fob there. We'll be issuing all council members one, and all employees, or department heads will be getting those, and all employees that work in City Hall. There's a few little things that we've got to iron out on this thing. We've got to change some position of some cameras and do some things like that. But Verkada has been great. They done a little over an hour training session with us last week, and we hope to follow up with them, I think, at 1 o'clock tomorrow, right? I believe that's right. And so they're going to Zoom in with us, and we can go through all that training. But so far, so good. The pictures are crisp and clear, and it is as advertised, I'll say that. Update from the committee meeting that we had, just real quick. It was a preliminary meeting on the refuse and recycling within the city of Huntsville. We kicked around a couple ideas, and here in the next month or so, I mean, we've got a lot of things kind of in our pipeline, and we're coming down to crunch time to get it done in fiscal 2024. I don't see that happening because there's a lot of factors out there that we need to really investigate and look at doing. But hoping to have some more meetings here in the next couple of weeks on that. And Leslie, I'll get you kind of a breakdown, or if you've got some time, maybe tomorrow or whenever you come up by, you're part of that committee, I'll fill you in on kind of what we've discovered or what we had talked about. And thank you all for those that participated in that meeting. In the next month or two, we will start meeting. I will call property owners for the enclaves that we have in the city, and we're going to kind of start the whole annexation talk. We'll start that in the next month or so. Might even wait till January, kind of let them get through the holidays and all that. But anyway, I'm really excited to kind of learn the whys and hows and all that. I've asked Sean Davis over at the Water Department if he'd help out with that. Obviously, we know as far as fire, we know as far as police, what it's going to encompass. Water and wastewater services, we got to be talking about, what is that going to ultimately cost us? What's it going to look like whenever we do that? Sean has agreed to help us out with that. So thank you, Sean, for that. But yeah, in the next few months, we plan on visiting with those landowners and kind of getting the ball rolling on these enclaves that we have. That's all for me. Any questions of me? Yes, sir.
Heath Worley's gonna be at Cedar Bluff tomorrow to start on the sidewalks.
Oh, yes. Forgot all about that.
Tomorrow to start on
Yeah, so we got the bids done for the Roush Coleman subdivision, Cedar Bluff. Heath Worley is the gentleman that got the lowest bid on the concrete, $32,000 and some change. He's going to be able to put in all those, and Scott and his guys have been doing a really good job of cleaning everything up and getting it prepped and ready for
We didn't take the steps out today without any problem.
Good.
We didn't take them out.
Yeah, we unearthed. It's unique, and it was on a Monday too, wasn't it? We unearthed a set of steps, 25 years old, that goes to the middle of the woods. It almost, you can think of a scary movie. But anyway, those guys, it was covered under earth and debris for 20-something years. But anyway, we unearthed that and come to find out it didn't really go to anything.
Looked like a
So,
vault to a human body maybe, but.
yeah, that's what it looked like.
Phone wires.
But we fortunately found out that it was not, and so we're taking those out and going to put the sidewalk through. So, yeah, thank you, Scott, for that. It was. It's the first thing that you think of, yeah. So, any questions of me? All right, hearing none, moving on. Economic Development Director, Brandy, what do you got?
Just an update, thank you, Mayor, for coming out to Fiesta Latina. It was a good turnout by everyone. They had 10 teams show up from Springdale, Eureka Springs, Green Forest, and Berryville, as well as here in Huntsville. They had a good turnout for that, and the live music was great. We had 17 young volunteers come from the high school to help out during the event. So I appreciate all my committee that helped plan that.
Well, thank you for what you do up there too. It was fantastic. I was impressed. And I actually think it was a little larger than the one that we had down here.
I think it was a lot larger.
Yeah.
Mayor, we still have the community cleanup this Saturday, correct?
Yeah, I'll get to that here in just a second. Well, here in a minute. We've got actually a lot of announcements coming up here in just a minute. Anything else?
No.
Any questions of Brandy? All right, and then obviously you were provided in your agenda packet that was emailed out to you, Planning Director, Building Inspector, Code Enforcement Officer, and Animal Control reports. And you were also emailed, gets to item number 11, which is Commission and Committee reports. You were emailed all those as well. Unfinished business. Ordinance doing business with city officials proposed 2024-6. What's your pleasure?
I'll make a motion.
Have a motion?
Second.
Have a second by Steve. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right, and if you'll notice, Miss Jessica's not here. She is under the weather, and so Miss Katie's going to help us out with that tonight.
I have new glasses, so we'll see how this goes. You said by title only,
By
correct?
title only,
Okay.
yes, ma'am.
An ordinance specifically permitting city officials to do limited business with the city.
That was the second reading. All right, moving on to new business. We have a resolution certifying the tax rate proposed 8/20/2024.
It's the same one that we do every year to,
Yes.
Yeah, and it's required every year to
Yes.
do it, so.
Yes, it's required every year to do it.
There's not a change to it, it's just.
no,
Yeah.
no.
I move we accept, approve the resolution 8-2024.
All right, so we have a motion from Mr. Thomas,
Second.
second by Mr. Ford. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. The ayes have it. All right, Part B here, ordinance amending Economic Development Commission, proposed 2024-7. Do we want to give a little history about this, Katie?
I didn't look up the date, but council approved maybe 2020, late 2019, to make this change from 5 to 7 commissioners, and it just did not get updated.
This is just more or less some bookkeeping that we're doing.
Yes.
We've
It-
already approved this
Clean
back
up.
a time. It's already been approved. We just need to now put it legally into effect, so.
See, I think that was one of the first things that we came on.
I think it was, I do.
It might have been 19. Yeah.
I move we place proposed ordinance on its first reading in full.
All right.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second by Mr. Rodden. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Ms. Boyd, if you would, whenever you get a second.
An ordinance amending Title 12 of the Parks and Recreation Code, of the City of Huntsville, Arkansas. Whereas the City of Huntsville established the Huntsville Economic Development and Tourism Commission, which was passed and approved on the 9th day of March 2015. Whereas it was approved by the Huntsville Economic Development and Tourism Commission to increase the number of commissioners from 5 to 7. Whereas the Huntsville Economic Development and Tourism Commission of the City of Huntsville has recommended changes to the Huntsville Municipal Code, and as a result of the foregoing and other matters, the City of Huntsville, Arkansas has determined that the code should be amended. Now, therefore, be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Huntsville, Arkansas, Section 1, Title 12, Chapter 12.08, Economic Development and Tourism Commission is hereby amended as follows. Section 2, Section 12.08.05 is amended as follows. The City of Huntsville Economic Development and Tourism Commission shall consist of 7 members appointed by the mayor and confirmed by the City Council. All commissioners shall be citizens that are qualified electors of the City of Huntsville and/or persons who hold a valid Huntsville business license or are employed by a business within the city limits of Huntsville.
That's it.
That's it.
Thank you. All right. And then the amended agenda item, Part C, under new business, I wanted us to have a discussion in regards to this. You know, back at time we had talked about War Eagle One, or the First National Bank building, the old First National Bank building over here right next to the Basham building. You know, obviously, to kind of just a brief synopsis or overview of what's happened. We've petitioned the people that own the building. There was some issues with the marble and the facade on the front side of it crumbling, and there was a potential to fall and hurt somebody, whatever. So we got a hold of them. They now took all that off. In that discussion back at time, and I'm sorry I don't have the specific date, we had discussed in one of our meetings, I think we've actually talked about it at council maybe once before too, if I'm not mistaken, about entertaining the idea of the city maybe purchasing that building, either to upgrade it or do something else with the building, because I don't know that they anticipate, and I haven't heard a whole lot from the company that owns it now as to what their game plan is or what they're planning on doing. I think it can be bought for a much less, significantly lower than what it was. I won't say for a deal by no means, but I'll say significantly lower than what they had originally priced it for. And with that, we kind of done our due diligence whenever we kicked around this idea, and as council, you know, kind of gave me a directive to entertain going out there and visiting with them. Well, in that, we had asked Mr. Steve Brannon, who is a structural engineer, worked a lot of years. He's one of our local guys, been around this community forever. We had asked him to go in there and look at the structure of the building. And so I'm going to read this first paragraph, actually a couple paragraphs here from him. We finally got the preliminary report. This is available, and I'll make it available in Katie's office as well. We can have some copies maybe scanned in and sent to you. But dear Mayor Dotson, thank you for allowing me to make the cursory examination of the building located at 103 East War Eagle, there in Huntsville, Arkansas. The masonry work on the south-facing wall of the building bearing the date 1904 gives placement in the unique history of the town. While the original building may be as much as 120 years old, it appears as if there has been numerous additions and modifications over the following years utilizing different types of building materials. Each part of the building has a different issue, that will require extensive repairs and or replacement. On such an old building, these repairs can become quite expensive. My experience has been that once repairs have begun, more and more problems are discovered with resulting unexpected expenses that exceed budgeted funds. Unless the residents of the city have extreme sentimental attachment to the building and are willing to spend a great deal of money, I would recommend that any decisions to purchase this property be based on the idea of demolition of the structure. And then he says, here's some brief accounts, and these are the things that we'll kind of get into. He went over the environmental aspect of it. He went over the foundations, the exterior walls, exterior structural walls, interior floors and interior walls. And he said if a more full in-depth study or formal report of recommendations are desired, please find attached with the invoice for my work to date, a schedule of pricing for my services, and typical statements of relationships between engineers and clients. So anyway, with that said, I just want to have a discussion in regards to what you all think now that we've actually had and I think, Steve, you were with us whenever we walked through it, weren't you?
Well, me and you walked through it.
Oh, and me and you walked through it. Well, Scott was with us, I guess. We actually asked the police department to,
Todd was with us also.
yeah, Todd was with us too. We'd asked the police department to do a flyover with the drone to look at the roof. They did replace the roof. There was some scaling of some of the rock work on this side of the building, up at the top that Mr. Brandon was really worried about, and it being structurally flawed. And he said typically whenever you get up there, if you can you sometimes can stick a pencil all the way through that. He said if that's the case, he said you'll have to tear all of it down, start all over, and build it back up. So with that said, I think that he's given us enough of an idea, and I absolutely trust his engineering experience, as long as he's worked there for Tyson's. I don't really have a suggestion, but I also think that the property is still a bit valuable as far as the parking on the square. I just don't know at this time I could recommend buying it to remodel it. You know, we had talked about remodeling it for the court building and City Hall. And I know it's never popular. You take a building that's 120 plus years old out of commission for the citizens, kind of been the staple of that. So I just wanted to kind of throw it out there and let you all have conversation about it as council members, because ultimately it's going to be y'all's decision on what we do over there. I don't know. I don't have any recommendations now to tell you what I would suggest. I do think that it is going to. I love the idea of fixing the old building up.
But it'll turn into a money pit.
And that's what I'm afraid of. Absolutely.
Either tearing it down or falling
Other than the aesthetic value, and that's actually why I'll remind everybody here that that's actually why we started talking about it as council, was the aesthetic value of what it looks like on the square. Chief Thomas and those that donated their time and efforts into the Basham building over there and saved us a great deal of money on it. You know, we've kind of got this corner of our world looking good again. And you know, that's what we started talking about, was just the aesthetics aspect of it. Then whenever it became the health issue with the marble blocks falling off the wall, they immediately come over and fixed it. It's one of those things.
More of a safety aspect.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you already kind of got Steve's, the structural engineer's report. His thing is to demolish it. Yeah. And I would say that that's probably.
And not unclear terms.
He was pretty adamant.
The thing that, and I so wish Jessica was here for the legal aspect of it, because, you know, and this is what you're going to get into, and I'm just playing devil's advocate because this is exactly what you're going to get into with the people that own it now. We have an opportunity to potentially buy it, tear it down, do whatever we want to do with it, rebuild, put our new city hall over there, new court building over there, do whatever we want to do, and tie it in really well with kind of what we outlined several years back with the strategic plan that we had on the square downtown area. I think that you're going to get into with the. I think that what we're going to get into with this company is this, and I'm just guessing. This is a best case guess, but I would say that you're going to get into the fact of, well, you cannot, because I don't know that we do have the ability on some of the aesthetics, and I think that we have the law behind us on some of the health issues that arise from this, right? And they have met us step and fetch with everything that we've asked them to do. We need to be prepared that if we decide we don't want it at all, the city doesn't want it, We need to be prepared, as far as the patients goes, with what their idea and what they plan on doing. Where we're governed by what money we want to put into it, or what money we feel like we can put into it. They're a private business, a private entity. They already had millions of dollars, or supposedly millions of dollars, that were coming this way to put into that thing. I just need to know if that's the direction that you all want to go. If we want to just take a step back and not offer anything for it, I'm fine with that. Or do we want to offer something for it? Do we want to make some preemptive, give them some ideas about what we'd like to do or what we'd like to see? Or, I mean, that's why I opened it up under new business, because I do want us to have a discussion about this in the public eye. That way we're doing our due diligence to try to alleviate the aesthetics of our square and how bad it looks now whenever you come up over the hill. So.
Well, it seems like it'd be, I mean, we don't know here, sitting here today, what the cost would be to the city, then we would clean up the mess.
Okay. Sure. Second, just to give you an idea about environmental, and that's what kind of scares me about that. Now, Steve, Brandon, and I, we kind of argued back and forth whether these were what this is, but still have to be tested, which we've got out of Lake Charles, Louisiana. There's a group out of there that we can get up here to test it. But environmentally, second floor has crumbling floor tile. It is crumbled into small enough particles that there is a possibility of some being airborne. An inspection by a certified asbestos inspector is needed before any work began, should the city become the new owner. So that's just one. Yes, it is. Foundation, while no extreme differential sediment was observed in any part of the building, there is cracking consistent with what is to be expected in a building of this age. The retaining wall on the east side of the building has failed and has considerable cracking with lateral movement. Settlement has occurred below the columns supporting the exterior stairs and the southeast corner of the building. The exterior walls on the east side has an air vent below grade that has allowed for intrusion of water into the area below the south part of the parking. And I can go on and on. I mean,
So now you're talking mold stuff, things like that.
yeah. Steve Brandon done a fantastic job, and he charges $600 to come over here and look at this, which is cheap enough.
Probably the best $600.
$600.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have one suggestion of donate to the city, and we'll eat the cost of the tear down.
Yeah, I mean, that's without knowing how much it is.
Sure.
Us to know that.
Well, I think we can probably get pretty close to what the cost will be. I used to do that
But I
in my
think we
previous
should
life,
buy it
so.
from them because they-
I think we step back, honest, my opinion is step back and don't even make an offer on the property.
Agreed, but also, I mean, find out what options are as far as if they don't wanna donate it, we're not gonna buy it. We need to be able to tell them something.
Yeah.
It's not a consistent.
Is it locked up and can people get into it?
That's my concern.
The
So
building?
kids can't break into it?
The backside now has been locked. Beforehand, I think that there was some things that we'd seen, maybe somebody broke into the back, the bottom side. But the front side is locked and has a padlock and chain on it.
Did they fix that part on the wall that was
The
open?
part in the wall in front was open there for a while too.
Yeah, they fixed it somewhat. So,
You also said something concerning the
Yes.
yes,
It
yes.
seems like that needs to be fixed.
It's either that or they need to keep it to where people can access it.
So the other thing about this is this, and we don't have to answer this tonight, but the other thing that I would ask each of you council members to consider too is basically so if we're not interested in it, we have got to change the appearance of that building, whether it's gone, whether whether we give them a time frame or whatever the case may be. So y'all are gonna have to be willing to be a little bit, and this may end up being a little bit controversial in the fact that they're like, well, you've never said anything now that you have talked about maybe purchasing the building, and all of a sudden, now we've got a 12-month window in which we gotta do anything. That looks a little bit,
Maybe we never had an engineer study.
Yes.
absolutely. But I'm just saying it could cause some headaches, but I just want y'all to be thinking, what can we hold them to as far as speeding up the process of what we may get here on the square? So,
I think the main thing is that, okay, we give it an opportunity to, they purchased it, they had high hopes to develop it. And down through the line, and with them working with Sebastian too, you know, they didn't kind of live up to their word, then they had apparently internal financial problems, and some of them backed out that sponsor that. So now it sounds like it's down to 2 or 3 versus what it was before. I don't think they're in the mood, you know, they quit all their work. I think they're trying to, you know, sell and get out of there and do as little they can to recoup some of the money. But I'm not for buying it, but I think we should pursue them, let them know what our findings was, and that with regards to that, they need to effort in to really sell it or make some improvements.
And maybe we
And
approach
not
it from a
let it sit there and
safety
be an
standpoint as
eyesore.
well.
I agree with the safety. Yeah, it's not just an eyesore, it's also.
yeah, just so y'all know, I did the moment that I got this, I think the very next day, I actually forwarded the gentleman that I've been dealing with on this. I forwarded this to him directly. I never got really a response from him or anything. He did call today, right after lunch. He called today, and I haven't called him back because I knew we were going to talk about it tonight. So,
You know, one thing, once we kind of tell them where we're at, that as is, and that it's back in their plate of being responsible for this building, and they choose either, you know, demolish it and try to sell the property, or find somebody to buy it to fix it up, but there should be a timeline set on that.
that's what I'm saying.
But then if something comes up and, you know, they're having a hard time trying to move it, if they offer some kind of low price, something we can consider. Not saying, you know, we can discuss that.
Yeah, okay.
But I agree with you.
And to your point, Steve, that's kind of, now that I've heard kind of some feedback from you all, I think that my conversation will basically probably handle it this way. Hey, look, you know, the city's not interested in purchasing it. We understand that the lot itself is valuable. We're not interested, obvious, with the engineering or the engineer findings that we have. We're obviously not interested in purchasing the building, but as far as the lot aspect of it, the lot's still got some value. I don't know what that value is. I have no idea. Even after you tear down the building, the lot's still going to have some value to it. At that point in time, you know, you all go back, talk about it, whatever. We're not interested. You're more than welcome to donate it to us. We will potentially handle when we've got to get some estimates on that before we put that out there, obviously. But you can either do it that way, or you can put your best foot forward if y'all just want to divulge yourself of this headache and problem. Know that we're here and we'll listen to whatever you have to say. So,
I don't think I'm even completely opposed to buying it for a lot, not for the building.
yeah, not for the building.
Yeah.
How much would it cost, I wonder, to haul the stuff off on the side of the building? That might be a catch to them if it was gonna cost them, say, $50,000 to haul the stuff off on the side of the building.
Right.
Never paid up, maybe. I don't know.
You know, I don't know, Scott, and that's something that I wouldn't care to work on that. And for that aspect, what we need to do is we need to reach out to ADEQ.
Right.
Because some of those native stones and things of that nature, some of that can be, a lot of times, land applied.
Right.
So we need to find out kind of what the ins and outs of. Now, obviously, you get to the interior aspect of it, the potential for asbestos, friable or non-friable asbestos on the top floor there, which one's a lot worse than the other. And that was basically my argument with Steve. I was thinking that it was probably friable, meaning that you go in with a water hose, spray the air around, and you're misting the air while you're cleaning it up, or while you've got somebody out there to keep the dust down, basically is what you do. But you also add water weight to whatever you're trying to haul off. Maybe that's the aspect that we look at too, is saying, let us look and see what ADEQ will allow us to do as far as the land application goes for filling in a sinkhole somewhere or whatever. Use the big stones for that, so we don't have a lot of disposal on it. But I'm telling you, it's still going to cost a lot to tear it down.
Well, even if asbestos is involved, that's a special.
Yeah. Well, but there are.
I mean, you'll have to find a company that specializes.
Yes, you can find a company that can typically go up and they'll, like that top floor, and that's the only spot that we really seen that if there's any potential for that, it would be on that very top floor. And not only that, we don't know that, so we need to just ship it off and get it tested, which is a nominal fee.
I would say at this point, it's not our responsibility.
No, it's not our responsibility, but
They've
I'm
got
just
the
saying,
engineer report.
that it could, that's not near as expensive as what people would think, is what I'm saying. As far as if we
Testing.
ended up doing something, we could get that done. There's some in there, but I'd say for the most part, they're probably 1.5 feet, maybe foot and a foot by 1.18 inches or something to that effect. But they are true stone.
Right, there's some of it, then some of it's just like, it was face stuff, I don't know what you call it, but it's just like, set up there is like 1 inch stuff, but the biggest part of it was thick, 6 or 8 inch thick stone of some sort of marble or whatever you wanna call it, but.
All right. Any other questions or comments for that?
Will a historical registry help with that? I know that they fund some stuff.
I don't.
There's no guarantee.
There was a time that the Brownsfield, you could get some grant money to tear down that, but there's a lot of different qualifications to get to that point with the Brownsfield group in Little Rock.
And there's never a guarantee.
And there's never a guarantee. Yeah. And most of the time, to your point, Captain, that most of the time the historical registry things are wanting to restore those things. And the only caveat to that, to me, is it's great that they want to give you money to restore it, but then they dictate how you restore it and exactly what you're going to do. And it may not work out that way for what we want to establish over there on that corner of the world, So, but yes, there are some cleanup grants I'm satisfied that we could get. So. Anything else to come before council tonight? All right, to our announcements. Citywide litter cleanup is Saturday, September the 14th, 9 to noon at Mitchison Park. Guys, if you get a chance to come to this thing, it's going to be a big one this year. Kiwanis is, we've got a lot of civic groups that are going to volunteer for this thing, and it's going to be more of a community fellowship, if you will, up there whenever we do the citywide litter cleanup. Saturday, September the 14th. Economic Development Commission meeting Tuesday, September the 17th at 8:30 a.m. at the Arvest Annex. Water and Sewer Commission meeting Thursday, September the 19th at 4 p.m. Planning Commission meeting Monday, September the 23rd at 6 p.m. And then obviously our City Council meeting will be on Monday, October the 14th at 6 o'clock. Farmers Market, Polk Square on Tuesdays, Church Street parking lot on Saturdays from 7 to noon, and then I've got a couple others here. Hang on just a second. Eddie printed it off, and I don't even know what I've done with it now.
Here's that big piece of paper.
It was a big piece of paper.
It was Cruising the Square, Jason.
Yeah, there was Cruising the right there.
Oh, yeah.
Cruising the Square, Saturday, October the 5th, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. here on Polk Square. That's always a huge event. We're going to help sponsor our first ever fall festival and truck show convoy. here on Saturday, October the 12th from 2:30 to 6. You can go to Facebook and look at that, or I've got a link I can send to each of you all. They're going to actually start in Sonora with a truck convoy that's going to come down through the square, and they're going to have a big truck show. It's going to come down through the square and go back around over to the activity center. We're going to be announcing on the square each of the sponsors and the people that are driving the trucks and all that there on the square. That is actually to raise money for a local individual here with cystic fibrosis. So it's actually a very good thing. And so they're going to do something new every year, kind of like cruising the square. But that is Fall Festival and Convoy Truck Show, Saturday, October 12th, 2:30 to 6. And then I think I've already announced the City Council meeting Monday, October 14th at 6. Anything else?
Jason, is that time right?
They're doing another event. They're doing that
he
show
left.
you're talking about, the 12th.
Oh, yes.
They're doing it
Just took
October 19th.
Yes.
flyer.
Yes.
I didn't know if it
And it's going to be a live auction, right? And it's going to be where?
I know it's that next weekend though. They're doing the one event on the 12th and then that following weekend.
Hang on just a second. I've got it here. October 19th, auction and raffle. Madison County Fairgrounds at 5 p.m. until the last item sold. Again, that's to raise money for a local individual here. So, says that they got donations from all across the United States on this one. Yeah, October the 19th at the fairgrounds. So, anything else to come before council?
Do you want to talk about the server at all? I didn't bring that
Oh,
up.
yes, yeah. Hey, guys, this is something else we need to visit about real quick. We need an upgraded server. I mean, we need to upgrade our server.
I think it's about 8 years old.
It's 8 years old, but just to make sure that we're in compliance with all of our cybersecurity and all that good stuff. Katie got a preliminary price on that from Preferred, and the price on that dude was $16,000 for the server.
And we thought it was going to be 10 to 12.
We thought it was going to be 10 to 12.
Yeah.
But it brings up another thing. AML, I had kind of cabbaged on to this other company out of Little Rock, I think is where they're out of. They do the same thing as Preferred. They're a preferred vendor of AML. And so we're going to interview them in the process. And it looks like, because this server, well, not the server, but for what all we're talking about and what it encompasses as far as the city, it also takes into the police department as well. And it looked like their prices were a little bit cheaper than Preferred. So with y'all's blessing, we would like to need your blessing to go ahead and proceed with upgrading the server, but bidding it out, obviously, because we thought we were expecting 10 to 12,000. It's going to be $16,000. So
I had really hoped to wait till 2025, but it's basically shutting my computer down
nonstop.
2 or 3 times a week at least. No, it's and they do offer a lease option, but it was like $350 a month for 5 years. It was like $21,000. It was not worth. So
I think we should just get some more bids and then come back next month.
Yeah.
See what you got, then go from there.
We got that. We got that time frame. Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
I think
All right. Then that's what we've got. A motion. Got a second. All those in favor say aye. All opposed, same sign. All right. We'll come back under new business next month in regards to.
That's not early enough.
Yeah, we can have an executive
I mean,
session or not executive,
it's still
but a special meeting.
functioning. It's just
When
it's
you
just
gotta shut down and
inconvenient.
start up 3 times a
Yeah, if
day.
you
Yeah.
do anything earlier, you get the
Yeah.
numbers from other people, we can speed it up.
Okay. All right. Yeah. We can do that.
Okay.
Is that all right?
Yep. Sounds good.
Okay. Anything else to come before council?
Mayor, I did forget, the Bikes, Blues, and Barbecue is like 2 weeks from now.
Oh.
And they will be, the Polka Run comes through here. Captain Clark's got all that lined up. I think they're stopping at the square here, so that's
What's the date on that?
21st.
When is the
Fire-
Ralph
Fire
Baker?
department. It's the weekend before.
Yeah,
Is it the 14th then?
18th, I think. Let me look at that date.
No, I thought he came in, I thought it was the
Dennis
weekend
came in?
before. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 'cause he called me the day that I was over there for the mayor's conference. And-
28th, I think.
Yeah, 28th. It's actually
Oh,
the
the
week
weekend
after.
after.
Yeah, so we got the
Sorry.
poker run the 21st for the fire department. Ralph Baker poker run will be on the same side of the square. We've allowed them to do that. We'll set up the same way that we are for the fire department. Dennis seemed to be fine with that, and that's going to be on the 28th of September.
And that's open to anyone, any board of transportation, these, St. Paul.
Yeah, old cars, old trucks, motorcycles, anything on the Ralph Baker one. Horse. Well, you might have a hard time keeping up, but yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
About the thought, right? Make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Okay, that's it. We're done.
Or we get